Service! Hey everyone, welcome to Chef Sense. I'm your host, Chef Massey. Everyone, I just want to take a minute to share with you. The sponsor today is BetterHelp. BetterHelp is an online therapy service. They have 30,000 licensed therapists in their network. You know, it's really amazing. And I have enjoyed taking advantage of this opportunity with them myself because, you know, oftentimes the intensity in the kitchen, the challenges in life, I have put myself on the back burner. And, you know, working with BetterHelp, it has supported me in continuing my own self-work, but also putting me back front and center in the game of being an effective leader, partner, and all of the above. So take that questionnaire. Once you do that, you go through that system and they filter those therapists that are fit for your specific needs. They get back to you in most cases within 48 hours or less. You can book those therapy sessions at your leisure that fit your schedule, which is truly amazing. I can say as a chef and, you know, on the go and parent, it makes it very convenient. You know, you could do those via the video chat, the instant message. Go to betterhelp.com/Chef Massey and you get the 10% off first month when you do that. And in that link, the questionnaire is there for you. So join me on sliding to the front burner because we deserve it. Back to the episode. Today in the studio, we have Chef Peter Platt from Old Inn on the Green. Thank you for being here today. Very excited to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So for our listeners, the location is New Marlborough, Mass. So it's tucked away in the hillsides here. You know, I think, Chef, having you on and sharing the history of yourself and the inn and your journey, it's just so inspiring. So if you just want to kind of start from your beginning and just talk about that, where you came from.
I'm a Chicagoan. I grew up on the North Shore. My mom was British and had a pretty keen sensibility for quality food. You know, I was born in the late 50s, so I grew up with a mom at home that cooked dinner every night and who cared about how things tasted and the ingredients. So mostly that was complaining about what she had to work with compared to where she had grown up. And also she grew up during the war and went in rationing. And so I think she had a super intense appreciation for, you know, the value of individual things. You know, one of the things that drives me crazy sometimes, especially with fancy food, is, you know, the waste that goes on and the lack of respect for just simple things, you know, whether it's just green beans or, you know, you just maybe people cut the ends off and they don't utilize the whole product and then just throw it away. Whereas people who grew up wanting food are more careful about how you waste it and how you cook it and how you enjoy it when you eat it. And, you know, in our day, you know, growing up, portions were smaller, but, you know, you sat down to a meal and it wasn't on the run. And so anyway, I grew up in that sort of environment. My mom wasn't a great cook, but, you know, but she cooked. And, and I liked, you know, eating. And so, and I enjoyed the time at the table. So, you know, so growing up, you know, I was so fussed around in the kitchen, made myself fancy, you know, not fancy food, but, you know, I love Chicago hot dogs. You know?
Man.
So, you know, I had a real appreciation for, you know, a certain hot dog stand. You try to make home and you try to steam the buns and, and you know, make all the accoutrement, you know. And so as a kid, those are the kind of things, looking back anyway, that, you know, I just liked food. I liked making something the best you could make it, whether it was a hot dog or a steak. And, you know, we came from like an upper middle class place, so I ended up going to boarding school out here in Western Mass, and then I continued and went to Williams College in Williamstown. So I didn't do, you know, I wasn't the dishwasher at 16 and, you know, growing up in kitchens. I was more of a, you know, cooking on my vacation. So I never really thought of it as a career. And, you know, back in the 70s, you know, how many well-off white kids went into the kitchens, you know, not too many. So it just never crossed my mind. So anyway, when I was in college in the winter, they had a month where you could do independent study projects or take alternative academic things. I went to a cooking school in England, and it was more of an excuse to do that. And so I got this, 4-week course. I heard him talking about it on the radio. And of course, that was before the internet or, where long distance calls were expensive. And,
Right.
So I called up this school. It was the Cordon Bleu School, and it wasn't affiliated with the French school at the time, but was sort of stood on its own. And they trained professional chefs, but they also had these little cookery classes, and they had one that lasted for 4 weeks that coincidentally ran the month that I could get away and be in England. So I got there. I knew it was a basic cookery course, which was fine because I didn't have any real training. It turns out it was a bride's course.
Oh, wow.
And
Nice.
so there was 15 women who were learning how to cook, for their husbands, and then me.
Yeah.
And so that was it was actually a lot of fun. I learned a lot, and it was just to put my toe in the water. Not that I still was thinking about cooking professionally, but it just seemed like a fun thing to do. So, and I enjoyed it. When I was a senior at Williams, I did the same thing. This time I went and worked for free at a hotel in Boston, the Parker House. And I did that for a month. And I was sponsored by the culinary division at the school. They don't have a culinary program, obviously, but they have a food service. So the food service sponsored me. And that was also, that was a great experience. I had a great time. I pretty much just was a commis and doing stupid stuff, helping with the banquets and chopping lettuce and stuff that I couldn't hurt myself or hurt the food too much. So I was, I did that for a month. And again, getting out of college, I was going to graduate in June. And I just didn't know what I was going to do. And, get done with the 4 weeks, and I've had a great time. And the chef comes up to me and says, he was Portuguese, and he offered me a job. And I said, when I graduate, and I said, well, I have plans for the summer, but I'll come back in September, and because it sounds good to me,
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I did. I came back, and he gave me a job, and I worked in their little, sort of diner cafe for about 8 months, and then took the summer off. And then when I came back, I worked in their fine dining restaurant, and I was there for like 5 years. I was really lucky. Lucky in that they even offered me the internship to begin with, because it's a union position, and they really shouldn't have taken me on anyway, because I was working for nothing, taking somebody else's job probably. And then the chefs that I ended up working with when I first started, Lydia Shire, who went to become a really famous chef. She was the line cook, and and the chef of the little restaurant there, the fine dining restaurant at the hotel, was Jasper White, and he went on to be a famous cook. And I stuck with that for about 5 years, and that's where I learned to cook really on the job, and which is not as many people went to culinary school. I worked all the positions. Same with in my first year when I was working in the cafe, it was breakfast, and you're doing like 600 breakfasts, and you're cooking to order, and you really learn how to move and be fast and keep orders in your head. And if you can cook a hamburger medium rare, you can cook a steak medium rare. So those are great skills. To work in a fast place that's busy is a great way to start. Sure. And so anyway, then when I was at the Parker House, I met my future wife. We got married, and then the chef I was working under at the time, the restaurant chefs changed every so often, and he got a job in the Berkshires at the Wheatleigh Hotel.
Okay.
So that's how I ended up here.
Okay.
And my wife got a job in human services. She was running a group home for mentally challenged adults. And so it really worked out great. I was the sous chef at the Wheatleigh Hotel for maybe 3 or 4 years. And then that chef, got the axe, and I moved up, and then I was there for another, 12 years or so.
I mean, that's a prestigious hotel.
Yeah.
That's not something.
No, it became that way. The owners were committed to having a great restaurant, and the chef that I started with, had the same aspiration. In those days, when people were in the kitchen, they were talking about, like us, who were really excited about cooking. Everyone was looking at the old school, famous French chefs. That's what the
Yeah.
banter in the kitchen was about,
Right.
Escoffier and
Oh,
the
yeah.
right way to make
Bocuse
veal
and-
stock and the
Sure.
right way to do a souffle and this
Yeah.
and that, nothing like the food that we're cooking now. So it was a great, sort of base in sort of culinary experience and
Yeah.
knowledge. And, you learn how to break down your own fish and your
Sure.
own meats. And those days we were cooking, sweetbreads, liver, and all kinds of fun stuff, squabs, rabbits, and things you don't see on the menu so much anymore.
Right.
Either now they're too expensive, or people just, the idea of eating a pigeon or a sweetbread or brains, or, can't make a living doing that. So, but anyway, it's long
Amazing.
time at the Wheatleigh Hotel. They owners, we started with a restaurant that was, trying to be a little bit fancy, but they didn't really, nothing was made from scratch. Whereas when we got there, we sort of changed the philosophy, and the owners were willing to buy the nice silverware and the nice china,
Sure.
and bring in waiters from that were really well trained and get the best of everything. So that made it possible for us to get a little notoriety, and
Yeah, definitely.
and also it allowed us to probably most importantly to attract great cooks. So, and we got cooks from all over because they came to the Wheatleigh to cook that kind of food. And in those days, there weren't too many places like ours. So, now with the cooking styles and tastes and cuisines so broad-based now, and so many good restaurants serve delicious regional or ethnic or
Sure.
inventive cuisine. There are a lot of places for people to work and get a good base of knowledge and good experience and cook food that they enjoy cooking and eating. It's a little harder to find the good cooks,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
it's not as easy to staff a good kitchen. So, I've been, of course, super lucky,
Sure.
without a doubt. Whether I was at Wheatleigh or whether I'm at the Old Inn, I have a crew that's been with me forever. So, from Wheatleigh, they've stayed with me, and
Wow.
that's
amazing.
It is amazing. It's truly amazing, and so much of a restaurant experience is consistency, and that's what my team sort of keeps that consistency going because they've done it for a long time. Just really good at it.
Well, and I think the beauty of it is really seeing, and that's why, I'm so grateful to have you on here today, is really to appreciate you and actually, celebrate years of service that you've had here, and how you carry yourself. And when you hear loyalty like that, again, that resonates in, the character traits that you have as a leader, because people value good leadership. People value good people to follow and that nurture them. So, I think that's huge. As you kind of have gone along, is there anybody that you looked towards for like passion and, who kind of inspired you? I mean, over the years?
Well, that's a good question. Certainly when I was at Wheatleigh, I was paying close attention to restaurants in New York or London, because we'd go to London quite a bit, and the owners were generous with paying for meals where you could eat out. Food wasn't as crazy expensive either. So you could, you could get some really great restaurant experiences that were similar to what you were trying to do. And then you'd get ideas about, what other people are doing, and then cookbooks. And because I've always had a great staff, I've had people from all over the world that have worked in the kitchen, and they bring their knowledge and their experience.
It's a community.
And, I think I wouldn't call myself a great leader, but I think I certainly appreciate, what people can bring to the restaurant. So from their own experience and their own imagination and ideas. And I like it when people are cooking things that they're passionate about, not necessarily what they're told to cook, but what, they've come up with, or their ideas, or their twist on something.
Right.
That, then they're tasting it, they're loving it, or liking it. It's so much easier, I think, to excel when you're thinking about what you're doing and you have in your own mind, how you want it to be. Whereas if you're just trying to copy someone, you don't really know what it's supposed to be.
That's a great point.
And you don't really know what you're trying, where you're trying to get to, So especially for chefs, cooks can be shown what it's supposed to be. But
Right.
if you're just young and trying to open your own place and you're trying to,
Yeah. And that can get lost along the way, and I have to say, coming into Old Inn on the Green, it is, first of all, the ambiance. And like I always say, when you go to a restaurant, the dining room and the team on the front of the house, they're the front of the theater. They're that piece. They're a huge part. And the ambiance, when you go into your dining room, I mean, you have these candles there. You have history wrapped around you. I think it just speaks volumes. Over the years and holding on to that, what drove you to keep that so front and center?
When, we were first looking at the inn as a, place to move to work.
Yeah.
I wasn't crazy about the food they were doing, but I did notice that the people that were there, the other diners, really loved being there, and we really appreciated the space.
Mm-hmm.
It's a unique feel that was, not our creation, of course, but sort of the sensibility
Mm-hmm.
and the respect for the building and the history of the place, where obviously, if you've been to the Old Inn, you know that you feel like you're sort of stepping back in time.
It really is.
So, you have the wide boards and the Windsor chairs and the candles, and there's not a lot of frou-frou-y stuff. There's, it's not all Victorian, and it's a real colonial feel.
Oh, it's amazing.
And we haven't tried to, we try to preserve that. We're
Sure.
not trying to make it modern or make it better or
Mm-hmm.
change it and improve it. We're just trying to maintain it, and because we love it, and
Sure.
we want people to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
We're not looking for super fancy.
Mm-hmm.
We're just looking to, even if the foods can be simple, but we want it to be tasty. We want it to be like delicious, and we don't want it to necessarily get in the way of people's experience. So
Right.
when people come to the inn, they may come for all kinds of reasons.
Sure.
Some people come to propose. Some people celebrate anniversaries or birthdays, special occasions. Other people are local and they're just coming for a bite. So, we want, I think personally, that's where I get my, I guess, greatest satisfaction. Just what keeps me coming to work every day is that, the joy that you get from providing hospitality,
Right.
And when we hire people, that's the kind of person that we're trying to find.
Yeah.
We're not looking for someone that is going to be the star of the show or is going to bring attention to themselves, or it's people who are really caring about the guest and what they're, and respecting why they're there. So trying to create an environment where their experience is going to be, the best that it can be.
Okay.
And, interrupting the diners every time we put a plate down to explain the 6 different things that are on the plate.
No.
We're not interrupting. We're not trying to interrupt their experience or why they're there. Whether it's a rehearsal dinner or a big birthday or just, romantic dinner, first date or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not, people should be coming because they want to celebrate or enjoy the occasion at the Old Inn.
Right.
Not because they want to see crazy new food thing we're doing, Not that, we want people to come knowing that they're going to have a great, culinary experience.
Yeah.
If you're there to get pat on the back or
Right.
people tell you how great you are and how wonderful you are, that wears off pretty darn quick.
Right.
You really have to enjoy and take pride in providing a great experience for your guests. That's why you got to be there.
Yeah, I mean, but I have to say, your food and what you do, the service you provide, I mean, and again, you're just, there's such a level of humility that you have, and I know you have a high level of expectation, and I know our grind is really hard. Every time that I've gone in to dine there, I've been recharged. I come away eating your food, and I go, this food is the best in the Berkshires. What I mean by that is, we can appreciate foodies and people that are food passionate, but when another chef goes into an environment like that, you can taste levels. You can taste how long something's reduced, like the braised veal cheeks, how those textures are. every time that I go in there, there is this respect for the food that the halibut is beautiful. It's seared perfect. Everything is done just so well. That's where, again, having you on here, it's just saying thank you, for the example that you set.
Well, it's, you talk about humility, and part of the reason for that is because, I rely on the guys in the kitchen to do that work. And JP, my chef de cuisine, in charge back there right now, and he worked for me at Wheatleigh for, I don't know, 5 or 10 years before we ended up moving to the Old Inn. Him and Gustavo and, others that have been with us a long time. It's their love of cooking. We cook to order, right? So everything that comes out good is because they care so much about what they do. And it's their brain power that's, making that menu beautiful and making it come out. So, I know everyone likes to thank the chef and the owner, but, really it's the team that's in the kitchen that's working every day. That's, we're all missing the holidays. We're all...
Here we go again.
We're all working late. We're all getting there early. And, it's tough, but I think it's that common thread of, being part of something that is so good that, and making people so happy.
Yeah. It's huge.
If I don't know how people can work in a place where the food's not great or people leave disappointed.
Sure.
I mean, what's the point of living if you are, what's the point of going to work every day, really, if you're not doing the best you can or, really making something special, even, whether you're making pizza or, sandwiches or whatever,
Right.
If it's not the best it can be, then
what are we doing it for? Exactly. Hey, I'd like to take a moment just to share with you. I do have some affiliates that you can take advantage of. Go to chefmassey.com, my website. Click on my affiliates. Go down through there. You're going to see some companies like Vitamix, King Arthur Flour, Jasper Hill Farm, Zwilling, Wolf Fish, and Thrive Market. These guys are truly great companies. Take advantage of that. I also can get a hold of some promotions with some of these specific companies during this holiday season. So feel free to email me at james@chefmassey.com. I can look into more of those promotions with further detail to help you out. So thank you. And now back to the episode. Well, and here's the other question too, as you have seen our history over your time and been a big piece to it in your own way. How do you feel like our food trends? We have the chamber vac, immersion circulator, tweezers. I mean, I came up not having a lot of those. So what do you think about where we are today and where do you see that going?
Well, fortunately, we don't really have too many of those things in our kitchen. I can appreciate some of the benefits, I've seen the circulators work. When we ran the kitchen at Jacob's Pillow, we relied heavily on the sous vide stuff because it could be so quick,
Sure.
But generally speaking, we just do stuff the old fashioned way. And, I'm not against, those sorts of things really, but it's not what we're into. And, some of the, so-called tweezer food is so expensive.
Yeah. Right.
And it's just for show. A lot of it. Not always, but for most, unless you have a really, you're really smart and you're really artistic and you really know, you have a feel, that stuff is just is a waste.
Well, I think that's a great point because, I think it can be convoluted on the plate. Usually I say baffle them with bullshit, dazzle them with brilliance, so you see our chefs, which I really am proud of and where we've pushed things, but social media, there's so much quick information, and they see it and they want to replicate it. And it's like, well, what does that taste like? It looks beautiful, but what are those, how are you deglazing and how are you giving it the time? And I think sometimes what concerns me is that we may be losing a little bit of our edge as it being a craft because we keep pushing so far ahead in some ways. So, I totally get it and respect the fact of what you're saying too, keeping it simple.
Yeah. I mean, for us, at the end of the day, it's a business.
Sure.
And for me, that's, I feel that more now than ever before is that you're trying to especially after going through COVID and all those struggles that we had.
Right.
You're there primarily, to take care of yourself and your employees.
Sure.
And to make sure that your business is there next year and the year after.
Yeah.
And so, you have to make decisions about, what kind of, proteins or, all those things, or, when you're going to buy new kitchen equipment, how much you're going to pay your staff and how many staff, is a big thing, and how many covers you're going to do. Because do you want to do, more covers and, charge a little less or make more money, or you're always looking at, how to
it's a mixture.
Keep it going.
It is an amazing mixture. I mean, being there at Old Inn on the Green, you've been there, is that 20 years now, right? Is
Almost
that correct?
20, yeah.
Almost 20?
19.
You've really weathered some storms. I mean, we've dealt with a number of chicken issues and beef issues. And, I think the biggest one was COVID. How did you work your way through that? I mean, you're still here and you're doing great.
Well, the COVID, the government definitely helped. We took advantage of different programs.
That's great.
I think part of it was the staff that we have are amazing. And it never occurred to us ever, not even once, to close or stop cooking.
Yeah.
So, the day they told us we had to close the restaurant, the next day we're doing takeout. And, we're all going to work. Nobody's missing a paycheck. We changed all our menu items so that we're doing, meatloaf and pizza and this and that, so we know that we're making stuff that people are going to buy and want, and it's paying the bills, And then when we reopened, we put up a tent outside, we spread the tables out, as soon as we could open, we opened, we paid the waiters with the PPP money and, or after that unemployment, and then we, they were ready to come back when we were ready to reopen. So, that's how we did it. It just was never, people got sick, people pitched in, we had waiters, become cooks and all these different things to just stay open every day. I don't think we ever closed one day.
Wow.
So we were always, managed somehow.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was a struggle.
Yeah.
But somehow, and it's a challenge. And that's how the kind of people that we have working for us, they're ready for a challenge. They are, that's what, keeps them going. They're not looking for ways to stay home or, make it easier. They're just, looking to do something that, other people can't do or don't, So that's,
Well, and with that also being said, I mean, you are busy and you are in our community substantially. I mean, you do Berkshire Grown. You're on the board there. I mean, do you want to talk about that as well a little bit?
Sure. Berkshire Grown, I'm part of Berkshire Grown longer than I've been at the Old Inn. So.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Like
oh, my gosh.
25 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So right now I'm the vice president. They won't let me out of there. But it started out as a buy local organization and restaurant oriented.
Yep.
So it's a great fit for somebody like me. And they met on Tuesdays, which was our day off, so I could go to the meetings. We've done events and all kinds of interesting things. As the organization has grown, and then since COVID, we got a new director right before COVID. She's great, and she pivoted the organization to more of a food access type of organization.
Okay.
So, and we've gotten a lot of government grant money, and right now we have a mobile food pantry that goes out and distributes foods, around the Berkshires. And we have a program that buys farmers' produce or meat, eggs, and then gives it to food pantries.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful.
So, and that's like $1 million program. It's really big. And, all because they pivoted during COVID to make it work. And then all this government money became available. And, we were just talking about it today, actually. There's almost twice as many people this year as last year
huge.
Going to the food pantries in the Berkshires. So there's a real need there.
That's a big effect on. Okay.
Yeah. And it's great for the farmers. I mean, we're a farmer organization. So, we're able to buy food at retail prices from the farmers and then give it to, the food pantries to people that maybe wouldn't get that protein or, nutrient-rich food. And so it's good. I
mean, is there any advice, or do you want to just throw out how people could reach out to that opportunity to support you guys?
Well, you can always look online for BerkshireGrown.org.
Okay.
It's a great become a member. That's the best way.
Okay.
Then we'll, ask you for more money later.
Well, that's worth it.
Yeah. And it's a great buy local. It's one of the most successful buy local organizations in the country. They have a great community membership. Like one of the big programs we have is Share the Bounty, where we buy CSAs. I think we bought about maybe almost 40 shares this year, and then donated those shares to food pantries.
Okay.
So it's a great way to get people that can't afford fresh food.
Which is hard. It's just such a hard time right now, and especially in the Berkshires. And so it's to be able to get people a quality, product and make it easier for them is really substantial. Thank you for doing that.
That's one of the things we did. And during COVID, actually, at the end, a local organization bought, reduced price food from us, and then they distributed it once a week or twice a week to people that couldn't afford it in town, because there's a lot of, just like any town, this has a good mix of elderly folks, that are on fixed incomes that can't, afford or have trouble getting out, especially during COVID. And we helped that. That was good.
That's amazing. Well, and you're also busy. I mean, you have Southfield Store. Was there a remodel? Did Alex?
Alex, my son, he's taken charge of Southfield Store, which is a cafe just right in the little hamlet next to New Marlborough.
It's beautiful. He's great, by the way.
He's really passionate about coffee and then, just serving customers. So that's, we did just do a big remodel there. And it's supposed to, like when we remodeled the bar at the old inn, we wanted it to look like it's always been that way.
Oh, okay.
And that was, we don't want a fancy new bar. And so when we remodeled the Southfield Store, one of the reasons we bought it, like 18 years ago was because we loved the way it looked and we loved the feel of it.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to maintain that. So we made it, more than anything, we made it more efficient and, added a lot of stuff that you can't see, drawers and refrigeration. We redid the bar, and so
the pastries are phenomenal. Now, are those done at Old Inn on the Green Kitchen and then shipped, or
no?
How does
Actually,
that work?
The reason we got the Southfield Store in the first place is because we needed a place to do our baking and pastry.
Okay.
It was for sale at the time, and it had been a cafe, and we sort of converted the kitchen into more of a bakery, and so that's where we do most of our desserts, and we used to, when we were making our bread, we did it there and that sort of thing.
And they're great. I mean, they're just phenomenal quality.
Yeah, the pastries are wonderful. We have a pastry chef, Mel, that does an awesome job, and Dan is a helper, and a couple other people chip in. And it's just become so much busier. We're probably close to 10 times busier, really, than when we first took it over. So it's so busy. And Alex has done a great job. And the community loves it there, and we're so happy. We're grateful.
I mean, why wouldn't they be? And I'll be honest with you, I've been in the Berkshires going on 12 years now, and to see Old Inn on the Green and Southfield Store, I mean, this isn't like downtown Great Barrington or Lenox. This is, we're further out. And again, I really think it shows your commitment, your team's commitment and loyalty to you, and to just be able to pull people from like in our community and, leaf peepers and all of those to just go in there. My greatest wish for what you provide and all of it is to be 1,000 times busier. But I'm going to I'll shut up there. I don't want you to throw something at me, but a spatula or something. But no, that's really how great, you and Alex and the team are with. You can go there and you're in another place. And I think that's what's great about it too. So at Southfield, are you looking at doing possibly dinners or anything like that?
Yep.
Did I remember that?
Well, Meredith, my wife, for whatever reason, stuck by me all these years, not ever being there at home at night. But she was running the Southfield Store for almost 15 years in the nighttime.
Yeah.
And we were doing dinners over there, and Gustavo was the chef. We closed during COVID, and we've been sort of trying to reopen ever since. So the remodel was in part to prepare for that. So if we had anybody out there who's looking for a cooking job, that's what we really need now is a couple more cooks. So we can open up over there for nighttime. And I think when we do, we've got a little more casual concept, tapas and
like a wine bar top
and smaller plates. And a little more casual, a little more, accessible for everyone.
Yeah.
And, we're really excited. We think that's it's going to be really successful, and we're again, part of the community. The real.
Oh yeah.
So we have high hopes for that. So we're gonna see how it goes. But once we have the cooks, we're gonna just we're ready to
do a launch date.
We're ready to open up. Yeah. Don't ask me for lunch.
No. Well, I'm excited to see it because I know it's going to do great because, that's
Gustavo's a genius. Yeah. He's from Oaxaca, and he has an amazing sensibility. And I've never met anyone who cares more about what he does every day. So he's going to be amazing.
Okay,
People
great.
are going to love that food. So
yeah,
really
that's
looking
awesome.
forward to
and
that.
the sandwiches and everything are great there. I guess looking at this overall, do you have, when you look at your tenure, do you have any advice if there was a young chef or somebody that just became an executive chef, any advice if they were standing here you would give them, kind of your wisdom between the ears from all those years?
I don't know. People tried to give me advice when I first started, and I didn't listen to any of it. So otherwise I wouldn't be here.
Yeah,
so
right.
They'd say, you're going to, I pretty much don't know anyone that's not divorced in our profession. And it's a really tough profession on your family and on your just, personal time. So
it's unbelievable.
There are ways to, there's jobs in our profession that, where you don't have to work weekends and nights and holidays.
Is that called boundaries, by the way?
Yeah.
Is that our vocabulary?
There's no boundaries. Most people that I know that have been successful as chefs or chef owners, they're in there first thing in the morning and the last ones to leave. And, there's a great story about Grant Etchitz, who owns a Linea, and he went to look for a job at the French Laundry. And he got there, I guess, on a day they were closed, and there was one person in the kitchen mopping the floor. That was Thomas Geller. So, that's kind of what it's like. You're, it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
And you got to love it, And it can't be, you got to love it because you got to love what you're doing and why you're doing it. You can't be loving it because you want people to say how great you are.
Yeah.
Because... just as many people say you're great as just as many people say you suck. So you have to do it for other reasons, not for why people, it can't be for the glory. All this stuff on TV. I don't know exactly what drives kids into our profession. Not enough of them anyway.
Right. Yeah.
But you gotta love what you're doing.
Yeah. And I think that's such a great point because, over my years, I have buried some very talented chefs, and, I've had those nights with Steph, upset, asking me, when is it ever going to be enough for you? I can laugh about it now because I've grown from it. I do hope for the industry because for myself, it becomes this codependent relationship where, my leadership style is a servant leadership style, which comes from my indigenous background, which it's a privilege to be a leader and it's a great responsibility. They are me. I am them. And I have a responsibility to guide and direct them and protect them every moment that I step inside that kitchen. And that oftentimes for us, like you said, is before the sun comes up and after it sets, and we hear the ticket machine in our sleep. When you become that relentless in your execution and commitment to everything, are there anything that you do for yourself to recenter yourself, or do you just keep rolling right into it?
Well, I would say back in the day, I used to, it's very hard to carve out time, for yourself.
Yeah.
Like I was a runner, for a long time. So that helped.
Yeah.
I think when I was first starting out, I thought it was crazy to work more than 5 days,
right?
Because I think people, I could see then, I could appreciate the time you needed to have away from your regular work, so you could have a life, you might say.
Yeah.
And then, but the more I got into it, the less I valued the time off, and the more I wanted to spend in the kitchen, or I felt I needed to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether it was job security or because you needed to be, and you just had this you have a certain, irrational feeling sometimes that, I just need to be there because I need to make sure it's going right,
Yes.
and
Right.
whether that's, or you feel like the owners expect me to be there all the time. So, or I'm the chef, I need to be there, or who knows
Sure.
what I was thinking then. But,
Sure.
but, as the years have gone on, you realize that, you try to help
Yeah.
people get their vacations, and time off, and not trying to get people to help if they get them to ask for help. That's hard
Yep.
too sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's every day is different.
Yep.
Just trying to make it work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's, again, I know I've said it a few times, but it's just, you're the example. And I want to say that, over 30 years ago in my time of being in the kitchen when I was a kid, and I was over there busting suds and looking over at men and women of your caliber to go, I want to be that someday. If our industry doesn't have people like you being that example, our future is limited. And I want to thank you for everything, the example you set and the hard work that you do with grace. And I know you're a chef. We're all hard and we have our challenges.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
And
I always thank the people that work for me because you can't do it by yourself.
No, you can't.
And they certainly can do it without me, but I can't do it without them.
Exactly. Well, all right. Well, thank you, Chef.
Yeah.
And Jackson, thank you. Get out there. Get to Old Inn on the Green. Go to the website, right, is the best way to location and all.
Sure.
Okay.
Oldinn.com.
Yeah, all right, everyone. That is a wrap. You can check us out if you like that. Subscribe. Also, the Instagram, Chef Massey. Let's keep it simple. ChefMassey.com. Have a good one. Bye for now.